Maple syrup dripping from his fake robe. Who did he see when he heard who was there? Now it seems that he should.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Logroom Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, October the 10th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Pumpkin. How are you, Mr. Pumpkin?
Got a pumpkin.
All right. See,
I have,
you lowering the pumpkin very slowly didn't translate well to the audio podcast.
well, okay, we'll go again. So, pumpkin in front of camera. Pumpkin gets lowered slowly. Behind pumpkin, beer samurai in purple shirt.
There you go.
There we go. Now we've got the descriptor. I got to figure.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this down here. Actually,
Why don't you leave it on your lap? Leave it on your head. Balance it on your head for the whole show.
I'm actually going to put it back here. Hold on.
All right. He's going to put it back there. There we go. And now, so it can be in the background the whole time. There you go.
There we go. That way it's still on camera.
There you go. Perfect. All right. And there it is.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our guest for the show.
Our guest for the show, for this pumpkin show today, is that pumpkin sitting
that pumpkin
on the floor next to the wall behind
It
it.
does have an uncanny resemblance to John Staradumsky, though.
Well, maybe it depends on how you look at it, how the light hits.
Well, yeah.
You know?
That's
Exactly. So today is, by the way, just so we keep in, doing what we always do. It's Happy Hug a Drummer Day.
So if you know a drummer,
go out and hug them.
Yeah, and if you don't know a drummer, go find a drummer, hug them, surprise them.
Mm-hmm.
Because most drummers don't even know it's Hug a Drummer Day.
Most drummers don't know it's Hug a Drummer Day.
No.
So they'd be more than happy to accept a hug from you. Well, maybe.
Depends on the drummer.
It's possible. Depends upon the drummer.
So
most drummers I know would be happy. Sure, why not? Unless,
a couple.
Yeah, I know a few. But anyway, so how are you on this fine evening, Mr. Samurai?
Oh, it's the show I look forward to every single year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you're not, and I know you look forward to it every year. That's why that Happy Pumpkin Ale season under my name there is mainly for you. So,
gee, thanks.
and I knew you weren't going to eat anything on the show tonight, so I figured I would go out of my way to eat a pumpkin wafer.
How's that working for you?
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's a pumpkin wafer.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's pumpkin cream inside a wafer. It's like,
Pumpkin cream. Those two words should not be put together.
Unless you're brewing a carton beer.
Yeah. Pumpkin cream ale, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you follow it up with ale.
Mm-hmm. So
put some Szechuan peppercorns and some nutmeg in it, and it makes it drinkable.
It's like almost like a pumpkin soup.
Yeah. Scobyville.
Yep. I always have a soup and salad's very nice. Although a lot of people tell me my salads are on the dry side. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that needs addressing.
I was waiting for that.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. Well,
I need a drink now.
Dave needs a drink. It's been a long week already, and it's only Tuesday. So why don't we get our
and most of you were off on Monday.
And everybody was off on Monday. So there you go.
Oh, well, before we bring the guest on, we'll do a little bit of business. We had two of our friends had birthdays this weekend.
Yep.
The 7th and the 9th. They're both Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So happy Brian's Day.
Happy Brian's Day. Yes, exactly.
The 7th was Brian Boak.
7th was Brian Boak, and the 9th was Mr. Brian Altschul, better known as Brian Alt, our
erstwhile,
our stalwart producer.
No. It's not stalwart. Look up the word. That does not describe Brian.
Oh, I used it ironically.
I see. Ironically. There's no way you can smooth that out.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Right. Is he texting you now?
No.
He's mad or anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a big old fuck. Okay, yeah, you too.
There you go. All right. Let's get the guest on because I need a beer and I know he does too. He's waiting with bated breath. Please welcome to the show.
Eating fish again?
He is, exactly. The small, like sardines, basically. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. John Staradumsky. How are you, sir?
Hey, John.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We can't do a pumpkin show without you. So,
well, we could, but
but it wouldn't be anywhere near.
We choose not to,
and I appreciate that.
There you go.
Well, so, considering that was during October, our Facebook feeds are just full of pumpkin ales,
Oh yeah.
as posted on Honest Craft Beer Reviews by John Staradumsky, and I know you love them, so I apologize for my lack of enthusiasm for the style.
Yeah, they are good. I actually had one beer I'm having today. I actually had. I'll when I get to it, I'll tell you the story. But I actually had one earlier today. We were doing we were brewing collab brew at a brewery in Middlesex.
That's a county.
No, it's also a town in that county.
And that's a town. So for those who not familiar with New Jersey,
it's the town of Middlesex in the county of Middlesex.
Yes,
in the state of New Jersey, in the country of United States of America.
And there's a lot of sex in the middle.
There you go. Yes, so it is our 4th annual pumpkin show. Fourth, yes. The first one was just you and I before we even had guests.
You've been making me drink pumpkin ale that long.
4 years now. Yeah, 4 years running. You like it. You get your fill in one show and you're done, right?
I was at a liquor store today looking for a 4th. And it is downstairs, so they're trying to find or cerveza calabaza, right? Because they all speak Spanish down there. They're talking, and they didn't have one. He goes, "I'll talk to the manager." I was like, "No, after tonight, I'm not drinking another one for another year. So don't even bother. There's no need to get one in." So I did manage to scrounge up a 4th. So we'll see if we get to. I'm actually having 2 tonight that I've never had before.
Well, there you go. That's always a good thing, isn't it?
Okay.
All right.
Oh no, it's always good. Well, it's great for your Untapped stats.
Well, there you go. This is true.
Yeah, right. So,
well, I like the repeats on Untapped stats too. I like to get to a particular beer that I really like and be the top drinker of it on Untapped.
I know somebody else that does that too.
Yeah. I only do it with 2 beers though. One is brewed by show your hat and shirt, John. Brewed by those guys. I think I'm number 1 drinker of that one, and the other one
is right there.
There, the green one,
one right there.
And the other one is Carton Boat Beer.
Yeah.
Why would we keep mentioning Carton?
This one, by the way, is Building Sandcastles. If you haven't heard,
yeah, it's Sabro Matueca. Mm-hmm. They put the lime in the coconut,
and call you in the morning.
That's how that goes.
Put the lime in the coconut.
But
put the lime in the coconut. Call me in the morning. Yeah.
That's the last one. So this beer that I'm going to drink now, when I check that in Untapped, not individual, but total, it'll be my 10,000ths.
10 total check-ins, not unique.
Total check-ins, not unique.
Gotcha. Mr. Matt checked into his 10,000th a couple weeks ago. Unique. Well, he only checks into one beer. He only checks into a beer once. So anytime he never checks into a beer second, third, whatever time.
Yeah.
So his uniques and his totals it's the same number.
Yeah. Can you guess which of the 2 of us doesn't have children?
When he says 2 of us, he means him and Matt.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah. You're not following along at home. I think
the three of us have kids.
Trust the audience.
Yeah. There you go. Anyway, all right, John, what are you drinking?
I have a Brooklyn Post Road pumpkin ale.
I've heard of them.
The head is diminished a little bit since I poured it, but I got my Post Road
pumpkin ale glass. There you go.
Hashtag appropriate.
Proper glassware. There you go. Very nice. Samurai, what are you drinking?
Wallen Paulpack pumpkin ale.
Wallen Paulpack pumpkin ale.
And this is a pumpkin ale.
And that's all you have to say about it.
Very much a pumpkin ale.
Is it? It's 6.8%. I see. Is it? Do you get the 6.8?
You're either getting a little bit of that, or actually, I think what I'm getting is a mouthful of allspice.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Very much allspice.
Out of the 3 of us, my first beer, I'm probably drinking the smoothest of them. I'm having a pumpkin lager. Actually, I put in ale. That's wrong. I actually should change that on there. Hold on. We have the technology.
No one cares.
I know. There you go.
Except you.
It's pumpkin crop from Jack's Abbey.
Crop. Okay.
It's a pumpkin spice lager. It's actually mellow.
Jack's Abbey does really good stuff.
Pretty pretty tasty.
No, I wouldn't mind that.
And what's funny is we talk about Untapped, right? I haven't, or so I thought, hadn't heard about this pumpkin crop from Jack's Abbey before. So I thought it was new. I really did. So when I bought it, I had one before the show, not today, but like, over the weekend. And it was good. I'm like, I have it on the show, definitely have to. So I went to Untapped, just happened to go to Untapped today. And apparently I had it at Jack's Abbey 9 years ago. So
there you go.
Well, there you go.
We see their beers sporadically here. I didn't see that one at halftime. I ordered the Copper Legend, which I've had many times before.
Good beer, it's solid beer.
Very good.
Yeah, I like that one, and their Fest beer, which I haven't had before. I got a can
Also
of
a
that.
good beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I haven't. They did. If that one comes in later, I will certainly get some of that.
You definitely should get some of that. Have you been up to Jack's Abbey?
No, I haven't.
You haven't.
But
They're in Framingham. It's a beautiful space. I mean, it's huge.
It really is.
Yes.
And they have the two separate breweries because they do the lagers on Jack's Abbey, and then Springdale they do all the IPAs. And the barrel room for Jack's Abbey,
stouts and sours,
is that's the barrel room is actually accessible through Springdale. It's so expansive, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the food,
Food's
really the pretzel.
Really.
And it's funny because I remember Brad really was like, "Oh, the pretzel, get the pretzel, get the pretzel." The first time I went there, I ordered the pretzel. They burnt the hell out of it. So I went back and got the pretzel again. I'm like, okay, it is a good pretzel.
Yeah.
But no, the food there, it's really good. And what's interesting is since it's Massachusetts, they've got like TV screens all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
However, the best time to go to Jack's Abbey is when the Patriots are playing because the place is empty. Everyone's at the sports bars. They don't go to the brewery to watch the game. They're all at the sports bar. Jack's Abbey is practically empty. You're going to get really good service when the Patriots are playing. So
I will make a mental note of that. That is pretty cool.
And but the Patriots are playing on the screen. You can watch them, but they don't go there for that. They go to the sports bars.
I haven't been like during that time, like you said. Do they have the sound on?
Yeah, they do have the sound going.
All right. So
Yeah, the first time I went to Jack's Abbey was when I was living in Rhode Island, working in Rhode Island. Actually, I was living in Massachusetts, working in Rhode Island at the time, and went to Jack's Abbey after work one day, and I'm like, where is everybody? It's a Sunday and the Patriots are on. They're like, it's a Sunday and the Patriots are on.
Well, the way they're playing now, I'd need to get framing hammered, I think.
Oh, which variant?
No, just any variant.
Any one of them. Right? Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Bring them
Just
on.
bring a whole lot.
Bring them on. Yeah, I mean, we were talking. We were speaking, folks. We were speaking in the green room before we started the show. That's why we started a couple minutes late. We were BSing about commiserating about the Giants, the state of the Giants and the Patriots, as are between the three of us.
Really call it the tan room. All three of our rooms are tan.
Yeah, to a point. The tan room. We were in the tan room. There you go.
In the tan room.
I'll add to my football consternation too, something that you guys probably don't experience, but down here, the Patriots are on pretty frequently, but I get NFL Sunday tickets so that we never miss a game. My oldest son comes up, sometimes my other kids, but my oldest son and I always watch the games together. Well, so far this season, 5 games, 4 of them have been televised. So I've paid $349 so far to watch
one game,
football game so far this year. And the worst of it was that even after paying that, our game was so bad Sunday that just after the start of the fourth quarter, they switched to the Ravens-Steelers game. So I didn't even get to see the fourth quarter.
Which was a better game, yeah.
Yeah, not that I missed anything, but still, hey,
I mean, I don't like when they do that. A couple of weeks ago, the 4:00 game up here in Jersey was the Chiefs Bears when the Chiefs were blowing out the Bears, right? And they switched halfway through to the Dallas Arizona game, which me as a Giants fan, I have little
resentment, hatred.
I have little love for Dallas, but as it turns out, the Cardinals won, so it was actually good to watch, right? But I didn't want to go watch a Dallas game. I wanted to keep watching the Chiefs Bears. I don't care about the blowout. I just want to watch that football or whatever. That's what I want to watch. If I'm settled in for that game, let me watch that game. You know?
that's the thing. When they say out of market games on NFL Sunday Ticket, they mean out of market. So if the local station is broadcasting,
Uh-huh.
it's blacked out from NFL Sunday
Right.
Ticket. Now,
Right.
if that game had been on NFL Sunday Ticket, they go with the local feed, so there would have been no cutaway.
There would have been no cutaway. You get the whole thing, right?
So, unfortunately, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well,
Yeah.
we both teams have a lot of rebuilding to do.
That's
That is
for
for
sure.
certain.
See,
Look,
And
I
we're
see
playing
this.
each other, so we have a chance to prove which of us.
This
really
is true.
sucks.
Which of us
Which
sucks
one's
the
the
worst?
worst?
Exactly.
Who's got the worst O-line? See,
I-
now, and John knows this. I've always been more of a college football fan, and my team had a huge weekend. The Sooners won the Red River Shootout as ranked number 12. They beat the number 3 Longhorns, and they've jumped up to 5. And putting Brett Venables back into Oklahoma, I knew he was going to do something. So we'll see if he can do how much he can do this.
Did you say bringing edibles back into Oklahoma?
Yeah, sure, there's stronger stuff than edibles in Oklahoma.
But no, I don't know. I just whatever. There's a lot of work to do. And what I was just going to say, this is the point I've been saying forever. I say this. I don't care how much teams run a West Coast offense. Well, it's all passing. There's barely any running attack. It's like all downfield, high scoring, everything. Running quarterbacks, mobile quarterbacks. Everything. That's all great. That's all well and good. Football is won in the trenches. You need to win the battle on the line. So offensive line, defensive line. You win that battle on both sides, you win the game. I don't care how good your quarterback is, how good your wide receivers are. I mean, I could show you there are more average to decent wide receivers that have won Super Bowls than there are star wide receivers that have won Super Bowls. So anyway.
Can we get back to beer?
Oh, is that what we're here for? I was waiting for that.
Beer and
this is-
football go together. I mean, it's an
Beer and football. It's one hand in hand.
Well, he does the football thing tomorrow.
Exactly. We're actually doing that live tomorrow.
Live.
All three of us will be together.
Well, that's rare.
It's rare because I'm in Jersey, Pete is in Long Island, and Harry Lugnuts is in Denver. But Harry Lugnuts just happens to be in Jersey right now for 10 days, and Pete is coming in from Long Island, and the three of us are going to Wild Air Brewing in Asbury Park, New Jersey tomorrow at 7:30 to do a live version of the Get On With It podcast.
Tell Freshie I said hi.
Will do. So anyway, all right, back to beer, shall they say? I'm sure we've asked this before on one of the other pumpkin shows we did, but it's more from my recollection than anything else. John, what was that you can recall? What was the first pumpkin beer you can recall having?
One of them would definitely be Post Road.
Okay.
Again, it's either that or Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills was the first, and I know.
Thanks, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's back too, which is good news.
It is,
Buffalo Bills was back, but Post Road was an independent brewery before in New England before Brooklyn bought them.
Yep.
And really made them brands, but I think they were contract brewed at Nat the same way they are today. So
Sure. I mean, you're for those of you that do not understand why a road in Connecticut was named for the pumpkin ale from Brooklyn. That's why. So there you go. I think you're right.
Very long road.
I think it's a Boston Post Road. It goes from Southwest Connecticut all the way up to Boston. So, but
through Rhode Island.
Through Rhode Island for about 5 minutes. Then you're in and out of Rhode Island. Yep.
I think you're right, though. I think they were originally it was just contract brewed out of Matt.
Yeah.
And Brooklyn bought them, and now it's back to being contract brewed out of Matt. So, they do a bunch of their stuff up there. I think most of the Brooklyn Lager, Post Road stuff like that's all getting brewed up in Utica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the widely distributed stuff is going. I think the draft is probably still brewed at the brewery in Brooklyn. But
right. All right. Dave, you brought up before. Dave, well, what was your first to wrap it up there? What was the first pumpkin you can remember having?
Really, it was probably Weyerbacher's Imperial Pumpkin.
Fair enough.
it's a good one.
It's nothing that I, pumpkins were nothing that I really gravitated towards, but I was on a huge Weyerbacher kick for a while and drank everything that brewery put out, all their anniversary beers, the Alpha, the Bravo. They named everything after the military designations.
Sure.
Charlie. So, it's like, okay, I'll try that. And I'm pretty certain that's the first pumpkin I ever tried.
There you go. We have a comment on here from Mr. Doug Smith.
Oh, what a surprise.
What a surprise. There you go. Buffalo Bills Beer Across America Selection Brew Guru and I drank the Framingham Brewed Post Road, if I'm not mistaken. There you go.
Yeah, we drank that. They had was it snowshoe winter ale, and they had a pale ale and an IPA, as I recall.
Okay.
All very good.
Yeah.
Fond memories of those beers.
Oh yeah. My first, just for the record, was Post Road. Was back in the day. So all right. So Dave, you brought up before you wanted to talk about other uses of pumpkin.
Well, yeah, we were discussing, the top threes, because the top threes will be our top three favorite pumpkin ales, and I really doubt they've changed.
Right.
But we will do that to double check. Did our taste change? Did something change through the years?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite pumpkins have not changed. My favorite ales have not changed. I think the pumpkins have switched in order once.
Fair enough.
The holiday ales, I don't think have ever switched. I think it's always been the same exact three. But we were talking about possibly getting away from it tonight. We're not going to. We'll stick with tradition. But I did suggest, maybe top three uses for pumpkin that's not beer. And we could probably even caveat that with, add on to it, not pie.
Right.
So
not beer or not pie. So not necessarily the top three uses, just in general, some uses. Like what have you lately, or ever for that matter, have had pumpkin or pumpkin spice or pumpkin meat or whatever you want to call it, or for that matter, any kind of squash that fits that bill, in different foods or what have you. John, you.
Oh, of course, pumpkin bread.
Sure.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Wonderful. Pumpkin seeds.
Now, how do you spice your pumpkin seeds?
Just a little bit of salt. Toast
Really?
them and lightly salt them and let their natural flavor come out.
I bury those things in my She Devil spice rub.
Oh, really? That sounds good.
There you go.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then just boiled pureed pumpkin with some butter, salt, and pepper is pretty good too.
Yeah, very true.
Take that pureed one step further, and you'll get to my favorite use for pumpkin, which is soup.
Oh, that's true. That's
a
very
beautiful
good.
Pumpkin cream soup. You don't need to put all the pumpkin pie spices into it. Maybe a little nutmeg, and just swirl some cream into that. And the toasted pumpkin seeds on top, without the She Devil blasting the hell out of it. And that's add a little crunch.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff. And a lot of these are,
Oh, and the other thing you can do with the pumpkin soup, if you've got cinnamon raisin bread, turn those into croutons.
Ooh.
And use those croutons on pumpkin soup.
That's nice. That's nice.
That's yummy.
As you would think, as you would figure, the lovely Jessica uses pumpkin.
Who loves pumpkin everything.
Loves pumpkin everything, right? So
she's got pumpkin spice Uggs, doesn't she?
She's got pumpkin. We have pumpkin spice sheets on the bed right now. So, all right. So
please don't go any further than that.
Comforter. Warm. It's getting a little cool now. So anyway,
show me your glass for a second. Cheers.
Oh, very nice glass.
And I had actually picked this out to drink from tonight before I saw your thing. So because I'm actually on my second beer.
Very nice. We'll put them up in a minute, but I just want to say, Jess makes a soup, and she usually makes it a couple times during the fall. One of them, it's usually something we have on Thanksgiving as well. But she makes pumpkin soup and there's a bunch of stuff in it. She puts leeks in it. She puts a bunch of things. But she puts Italian sausage in it too.
Okay.
And it's really, really good.
Sweet Italian sausage, right?
Sweet Italian, not hot. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think hot would work on that.
No. But it's really, really tasty. She's made pumpkin lasagna before. So she mixes So she'll make the she'll
We
whip
just
the
lost every Italian watching this show.
she'll make she's half Italian, so
I mean, there's veggie lasagna made with zucchini and
yeah. Well,
pumpkin
she doesn't put
sauce.
She just takes she'll whip the ricotta, right? Ricotta. She'll whip it
Ricotta.
ricotta, right? She'll whip the ricotta with pumpkin meat, and pumpkin puree, right? And she'll just whip it so it becomes like a pumpkin puree ricotta. So, and then she'll make the lasagna with that. It's pretty tasty, actually. It's not really overly. She doesn't really put any cinnamon or anything like that, and it's just the flavor of the pumpkin and the ricotta. So you're gonna have and she makes a pumpkin cream sauce over it that has a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg in it. So it's pretty tasty. It's different, right? It's more of a
different.
Yeah. So,
Speaking of ricotta, I was at the Publix deli and asked for a pound of gabagool the other day.
Gabagool.
I didn't know what the hell I
Did
was
you get the
talking
gabagool? He's like,
No, I had to tell her. I said, okay, it's the capicola. And then I got it. They do have a version.
We've had this
capicola,
discussion on the show a few times. If you go to Italy and say gabagool, they won't know what you're talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
They don't know what ricotta is in Italy.
Ricotta.
It is ricotta.
It's ricotta. Ricotta.
The C gets pronounced twice. It's doubled up. Ricotta.
Ricotta. It's not. Yeah. And it's not manigot. It's manicotti.
Yeah. Manicotti.
It's not manicotti. It's manicotti.
Manicotti.
So, but it's
it's
how it sounds, right?
It's the second show in a row we've given Italian pronunciation lessons.
It is
because last week we were
Girardelli.
Girardelli.
I said it right. I said Girardelli. Right. We were saying the difference, right?
It's not Girardelli because you don't say spaghetti. The H makes the G a hard.
Well, maybe you don't say spaghetti, but I say spaghetti.
I'll say one thing that the tri-state area Italians just love to pronounce things incorrectly. Very true. And if you really want to watch something funny, there's a Saturday Night Live skit of it was a spelling bee in what town in New York was it? It was out in Brooklyn.
It was in Brooklyn. It was the Sheepshead Bay or
something like that.
Yeah.
And if you really want to see what we're talking about, they cover off on pretty much everything on that one. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It was I think it was the Sheepshead Bay, but it was Kelly Ripa and her husband were sitting in the audience because their daughter was in
the spelling bee.
In the spelling bee. And the spelling bee, the proctors of the spelling bee were Tony Sirico, that was Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos, and Lorraine Bracco, who was Dr. Malfi. And also, obviously, she was in Goodfellas, too.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and Nurse Jackie, was she Nurse Jackie?
No, that was
Edie Falco.
Edie Falco was in Nurse Jackie.
I can't keep those two straight. Okay.
Anyway, so what's your second beer? You poured your second beer. Samurai.
Oh yeah, so this is a quasi local for us. I mean, Quell and Paul Pack is Conic. That's Pennsylvania. So I decided to skip across New Jersey into New York, hit some Captain Lawrence Autumn Blaze.
Oh, I've had that. That's good.
Yeah, this is a fall ale. They've what's different about this beer than a lot of pumpkin ales? There's actually pumpkin in this one. It's not just pumpkin spice. And unfortunately, you can taste the pumpkin.
Unfortunately,
I taste because that's the thing. There's people like, "Oh, I love pumpkin." No, you don't. You love pumpkin spice. No, I love pumpkin. Here, try some pumpkin. That's disgusting, right? It's the pumpkin spice that you like. But this has got the pumpkin. It's got the pumpkin spice, but it's not a pumpkin pie beer. This is definitely a pumpkin ale, very mildly spiced. I got to give them a lot of credit for what they did here, because they know full well that the popular pumpkin ales out there, the ones that really sell, are the big pumpkin pie beers.
Yeah.
And this is not a pumpkin pie beer. The spicing is very moderate, or maybe it seems moderate after drinking the that allspice beer I just drank.
This is true.
So maybe I'll reserve judgment on that until I get to the bottom of the glass, maybe have a little water and get the allspice out of my mouth from the wall.
There you go.
And I hate to say it, that I didn't particularly like it, and I absolutely loved it.
Said it again. You absolutely what?
I absolutely loved everything else I've had from Wall and Paul Pack, but that was not fond of that pumpkin ale.
Gotcha. Fair enough. John, have you moved on to your second one?
I am about to do so. I will take that as a cue. I think I've made my decision on the two I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone.
He decided to go have a beer in the kitchen.
Oh,
No,
I looked away
beer
for
fridge.
I looked away for a second, and he was gone.
I have a beer fridge,
Vanished.
but it's across the office, so it's in my office. But
Oh, did you have a happy Federation Day yesterday, John?
I had a very
I'm talking to Staradumsky because I know
yeah.
he's a Trek fan.
I had a very happy Federation Day yesterday. So
I had a day off after working all weekend, so I actually forgot.
Oh, you forgot.
Yeah.
you took yesterday off after working all weekend. I thought you took yesterday off because the Patriots lost. The Patriots were shut out on Sunday.
No, that would have been a good reason to do it, but it didn't end up being the.
Gotcha. So what's the verdict?
Okay. Here's what I got. I got Smutty Nose Pumpkin Ale, which was an old favorite up in New England.
Oh, yeah.
For a time, we got Smutty Nose beers down here in Georgia, but that stopped. But then I saw it on from Halftime, another one I got from Halftime this year, and I ordered it and I drank it and I thought, you know what, that was so good. If they still have it when I make my next purchase, I'm gonna get another one for this show, and so I did.
Very nice.
It's a good one. I think it's, in my opinion, I prefer it over the Post Road. I think it has more pumpkin pie flavor to it.
Gotcha.
They both do, but it's a very well.
Post Road is subdued. It's good. It's solid, but it's dialed back as opposed to what I'm drinking right now. But yeah, Smutty Nose always a favorite back in the day. That was always a good one. Haven't had it in a while. So you said Halftime has it. I might have to look into that.
Yep.
All right. And I am drinking one of my favorites. My more on that later. My one of my top threes almost every year is this one right here, Whole Hog.
I don't think I've ever actually had that.
I had it for the first time this year. It may be the only new pumpkin ale so far this year that I've come across.
I did see you have another one, and I'm actually having that new one that I believe you only had this year because I think it's the first time it came out.
My memory is not as good as it once was, but I'll give you 3 guesses where I got the Whole Hog from.
Halftime.
Yeah. But I liked it. I was very impressed with it. It's Stevens Point Brewery, right?
It's Stevens Point, yeah. Stevens Point in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. They're that whole there's a whole, no pun intended. There's a whole Hog series, and they actually call it, it's like another brewery. It's like an offshoot of Stevens Point. It's like Whole Hog Brewing, but it's Stevens Point. Right? Stevens Point is Whole Hog Brewing. So, but yeah, their Whole Hog pumpkin. It's such a well done pumpkin. I mean, if you like pumpkin ales, this is one of my favorites. There's only one pumpkin ale. When we get to the top threes, I'll explain then that edges this one out for me. But this is right up there.
And the list of awards that they've won for that beer is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of them at GABF too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Before the show next year, John, remind me to go and try to find that
Whole Hog.
Yeah, I'll have to go into Halftime probably to get it.
It may be the one pumpkin beer that you go whole hog on, just so you know.
I see what you did there.
I see what he did there. Yeah, absolutely. The you can Dave, it's prettily
available.
Pretty available. It's pretty decently available in Jersey. You can
so if I get
be able to find it,
I can find it in Boonton.
Boonton will definitely have it.
Now that I've worked through this a little bit more, yes, you can taste the pumpkin, and it's not. They put pumpkin puree in it, but that might scare you into thinking the beer is thick. It's not thick. It's if you look at the color, it's got the SRM of an amber. It's got the body of an amber, actually. It is light.
I actually knew a girl in college that had the body of an amber.
Was her name Amber?
Her name was Amber. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Amber Waves of Gray. No, sorry. But I digress. It is not overly spiced, but the spices they've put in it have added an astringency to the beer. Okay. You've got, there's obviously, some phenolic acid going from some of the spices they put in that. We know many spices like cloves, allspice, even cinnamon can throw it can throw astringency. So, but you don't really taste a lot of the spices, but you do get that astringency from it. And we'll have an over under before this whole talk is done as to how many times I will say astringency.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've had Autumn Blaze before. I haven't had it in a while, so I can't speak to it.
It's not a bad one.
Yeah, I actually still have a few cans from last year. And one thing I found about pumpkin beers, and it's the spices, right? The drying, preserving qualities of the spices is
Sure.
the pumpkin beers can hold up very well over maybe a year, sometimes two, depending on something. Some of the stronger ones will hold up a little longer. But I think those spices definitely help to keep those beers very drinkable.
And
considering I bought a 6-pack of this, I think 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, will be laid down for next year.
Next year, yeah. Well, my the pumpkin crop I just bought. I just got this year, but this whole hog, this is last year.
Yeah.
This bottle's last year, and it's drinking as good as it was last year.
Yeah, they do.
Like honestly, there's no difference.
But that's a really good point that Mr. Staradumsky makes here. Brewer makes is that the spicing is a preservative. Back in the day, spices were used to preserve, and then the secondary thing was the flavors they imparted.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense that a pumpkin ale above so many other styles would last pretty long. And there's other styles that last long for other reasons. High ABV will do it. But
even hoppy beers, if you use the right hops.
If you use the right hops.
Today, hops that are desired for their fruity, gentle fruitiness are not going to do that. But
no.
German and British hops, on the other hand, with their intense bitterness, those
the high alpha acid hops,
right,
are really going to help preserve.
I mean, that's first IPAs, right? The whole point was to preserve them, but
the whole point was to preserve them, get the beer
around the Cape of Good Hope,
around the Cape of Good Hope, right over to
India. I find a lot of German styles, a lot of German lagers can last 6 months to a year.
Well, that's because noble almost every noble hop has got a high alpha acid level. Nah, maybe not all of them, but the Germans and the British do.
The lagers will last for. I've had year plus old lagers that were maybe even better than they were when they were fresh.
Saaz hop is not a high alpha acid hop, is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, depending on how much you use and how long or how early in the boil you
put it, yes, and what you can pull out of it.
Yeah. I get the Kalea beer advent calendar, which is 24 German beers at Costco every year.
Right.
And now those beers they're brewed and packaged in Germany. It's got to be May, June. They show up in the shelves in Costco in September. I've already got this year's.
Right.
You're not supposed to pop them until December, and they've got almost invariably they have a best by date of May of 2 years away. So the ones in this calendar will probably be best by May of 2025 on them. And I've tested some of them and they held up pretty well. So,
generally speaking, the only beers that you have to worry about having like a really short shelf life are just lower ABV New England IPAs. Juicy, nothing. Just
the West Coast
beers
IPAs
and
too. Yeah.
Well, West Coast IPAs too. You're gonna get DO in those, but
they rust.
Yeah, exactly.
Way to put it.
But I will tell you one thing. There's a brewery in Long Island, in Long Island City, in Queens. LIC beer.
Don't tell somebody from Queens they're on Long Island.
No, Long Island City.
Even though physically Queens is on Long Island, don't ever say that to somebody from Queens or Brooklyn. You'll get shanked. Yeah,
it doesn't happen like that. Anyway, so it's LIC Beer Project, right? They had, I forget which one it was, but they it was a New England IPA. It wasn't low ABV. It was probably like in mid 7s, maybe closer to 8, maybe. And I had bought a 4-pack while I was over there. Figure it was like maybe April or May, right? I'm in my fridge like 2 days after Christmas that year, and I'm pulling some beers out from the back of the fridge, and I found a can of it. I'm like, oh my God, this thing's 8 months old, right? 9 almost.
John is known for this, by the way. He's
no. My chops are busted for it, but I'm not. Anyway, So I opened it up and I poured it off. It was delicious. It literally no dissolved oxygen, no DO, no nothing, no. It was as fresh as I remember it. I mean, it sat in my fridge the entire time, so obviously that helped. But
It does help.
but I was really surprised that a 9-month-old 7.8% New England IPA was still good. You know,
keeping them ice cold has a lot to do with it too. I find that
Back of the
beers that
fridge.
gravitate towards the back of my fridge, where the cold air flows up or down from the freezer,
right?
They tend to keep longer
Yeah.
than the beers in the front. So
it's really good. All right, I want to switch up some of the talk. We're talking obviously all about pumpkins and stuff like that, and some other stuff, but we've been talking about halftime beverage. There are, beer by mail services out there. Halftime is one of the big ones. Tavor is another one. Whatchamacallit? Beer Drop. You've ordered, Dave, from Beer Drop a couple times.
Oh, that's some good stuff from them.
Yeah. I wanted to bring one thing up. I was on. It's all right. Look, obviously these companies are making money, right? They want to make a couple of bucks, right? So you're buying a can, you're buying 2 cans, whatever you're doing. You're not buying 4-packs, you're not buying cases or anything like that. So yeah, you're going to spend a little bit extra, and I get it, right? I saw one. I won't say which company it was on or whatever, and I won't even. I'm just going to say it. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to say it. I'll call it out. Who cares?
I'll say it, John.
Who cares? Who cares? I'll call it out. All right. Bottle Logic. Okay. Now, known for their barrel-aged stouts, amazing barrel-aged stouts. Hands down, some of the best not the best, but some of the best barrel-aged stouts I've ever had. But they have one offering, I will say, out right now, available. And it is called Lost in Iberia. All right. It is a 375 milliliter. So it's a 12-ounce bottle, roughly. Mm-hmm. Okay. It is a sangria-inspired seltzer. Okay. Now it's 16%, so it's an imperial seltzer, right? But it's a seltzer. It's a sangria-inspired seltzer. That's 16%. $29 for a 375 for a bottle of seltzer. $29. I'm shocked anyone is buying it. I'm not being Mr. Frugal over here, but I would never spend $29 on a 4-pack of seltzer, let alone one bottle.
Yeah, that's insane. I was buying from Craft Shack, and I miss it because I used to get Enegren beers from California, which
nice. Enegren's great. I love Enegren.
They haven't had them lately, but they've gone to a model where they're more focused around the latest fad beer and new beers they can get in. And they have all these different vendors. So you end up paying 4 shipping charges. And so I will tell you that, I don't see those outrageous prices from Halftime. A lot of times the prices for singles from Halftime are pretty commensurate with what I'll pay in my local Total Wine for a similar. And you pay $19 flat rate shipping, $19.99, and you can fill a case of 24. So
wow, that's
that is nice.
I think you guys are local, so it's but they'll
I mean, I could drive up to Halftime. I could I could drive up to Halftime and for me it would be about an hour and a half ride. For Dave it would only be about a half an hour ride. But but I mean, I've ordered from Halftime before, even so. The EBF boxes were coming from Halftime every year.
Yeah,
since they've been doing that. But
those weren't bad.
No,
those are actually pretty good. But to prove, talk to your point here. I'm looking at Tavor right now, and I'm looking at something called Catch and Release. And this is by Varietal Beer Company out of Sunnyside, Wisconsin. It's a 12.7% barrel-aged stout, 16-ounce can. $19.99 for 16. Yeah, right. They had that's a no.
They had a double barrel aged imperial stout from it was Alaskan or Anchorage. I think it was Alaskan, but amazing stouts. I've had their one barley wine was the triple barrel barley wine. Were you there, Dave, when we had that? That Neil brought that over to Brian's house. That was
No,
amazing.
I don't think
That was
so.
amazing. It was an amazing barley wine. Anyway, $70 for a
Yeah.
500 ml bottle.
Wow.
$70. 70.
And I thought this was bad. Cinnamon Coconut Bee Balm from Fremont Brewing.
Fremont. Yeah, Fremont is going to be up there.
It's a 20. Oh, well, it's a 22 ounce at least. It's $35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did pay with shipping. It was $20 for shipping and $10 for insurance for one bottle of West Flatern 12.
Well,
I kicked. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do it, and I paid $75 for a bottle of it. One bottle.
Including the shipping and the shipping.
Yeah, and the insurance. That was from Craft Shack, and to be
Mhm.
fair, they did give me the opportunity. I had never had it before. I'd just never seen it,
Mhm.
and it was worth it to be able to experience that beer. But most beers, no, it's not. It's not worth those.
No,
insane.
it's not. It's ridiculous. It really, really, really is. I mean, you think about it. All right, a 500 ml bottle for like $20. We're looking at it. I mean, that's what you're paying. If you're going to the brewery and they have 500 ml bottles of their barrel aged stout, 14%, whatever, they're going to be $20. So it's 20,
John.
it's 24 or 26. It's kind of in line, and you're not going to, what are you going to do? Hop a plane to go get it? Just order it and you're good to go.
But John, here, tell me how much this costs.
Mm.
Barrel aged Cordially Yours, 2023 from Rheingeist out of Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is a 500 milliliter bottle.
Yep.
Guess how much?
$29.
Actually, only 17.
Really?
So I get befuddled sometimes as to why one beer will be this, one beer will be that. So there's got to be something in the deals that they have with the breweries, where the breweries are the breweries price gouging, or is Tavour price gouging?
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah,
What's
this by
going
any
on?
means, this is no dig on Tavour. You don't know whether it's coming from the brewery. You don't.
And
know
by the way, I am ordering
and
that.
Tavour,
That Rheingeist, I'm ordering that right now.
It's not a knock on any of them because
No.
I mean, I usually get. I don't know if they'll have it this year because I've seen some beers disappear, but usually every fall they have a 750 of Alaskan smoked porter for $11.99, which is not a bad price.
Not a bad price at all.
No, I will.
And I'll get 5 or 6 of them when they have them. But
yeah.
I
will. Yeah, if I see that come across, I'm definitely going to get that. I did just pick up a bottle of, where is it?
Kuhn.
Yeah.
What do you think's in my crate?
Kuhn? Did you get the fourth dementia? The bourbon barrel aged?
Yeah.
Yes, bourbon barrel aged fourth dementia old ale from Kuhn in Michigan. It's like the highest rated old ale. I'm a huge old ale, freak.
You're just a freak.
I'm just a huge freak, but that's me. It's like the number 1 rated old ale in the world. It's so freaking good. It's crazy.
Oh, I just came across Lost in Iberia.
There you go.
That's
order it. Go ahead, have it.
No, I'm not ordering that. Ugh, no.
Anyway, but you know what? These services do allow you to experience beers that you otherwise wouldn't have.
This is true.
When am I going to go to Michigan and get this old ale? Right.
Not only that, but for me,
and a bottle of old ale is $10.99 for that bottle too. I'll pay that all day for that bottle.
One of the most attractive features for me is because they're up north. I can order a lot of New England beers and New York beers that I used to really love, and I can't get them down here. For the price, I mean, to me, it's well worth for $20 shipping to fill up a box of great New England and New York, New Jersey beers. I'm all over it. I think it's well worth it. So.
And I will tell you too, the shipping for Tavour is like 14 and change. It's not. It's like $5 less than.
I can. Yeah, and the thing is, which surprises me that it's that cheap, because the services that they use, they ship it in to a third party, and it's not like it's going FedEx, not going UPS, it's not going USPS. It is actually almost like a personalized courier service that they use.
Right.
And a lot of these this style, and kind of, even though it doesn't sound like it, I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm in logistics. These companies, unfortunately, but companies like that usually, you're going to pay a lot of extra, and what Tavour charges for shipping, I'm really surprised it's as low as it is, considering in New Jersey, you're technically not allowed to order beer into New Jersey. I don't know what the loophole is.
They have these companies actually do All they had to do was buy licensing.
Okay.
That's all they had, shipping licensing. That's it.
Yep.
As long as the state's getting their money, they don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, this is true.
Georgia passed a law and allowed beer and wine to be shipped into the state, but as John said, you got to pay the tax. You got to pay the tax, man.
As long as they get their cut.
And
That's
they
it.
don't care, But I've noticed too that, just as you say, some of the halftime stuff comes from Missouri. So it comes FedEx,
Right.
but it's shipped from Missouri.
It's
and
shipped
not
from Missouri, not from
some
New
of them
York.
do come from New York, but quite a few packages have come from Missouri. So they're shipping all these beers out to Missouri and letting that vendor handle the packaging.
Handle the packaging and everything else, right?
Okay, so I just ordered something for our next show. We'll see if it gets here in time.
When are you closing your crate? That's the.
I'm going to close it tonight. I'm not putting anything in here that needs to wait. Okay, here's $60 for a 750. It is perennial, and I love perennial. Oh, and James says it's a damn good beer. I just don't know if it's worth that to me.
Right. Well, beer, it's what it's worth to you, right? I mean, that's the biggest.
Yeah.
That's
That's
the biggest thing. It's what it's worth to you. If you want to spend $60 because you want that beer and you're going to be happy to do it, because
or if you want to spend
it,
$75 because you've never had West Flutter 12,
right? That too. Right.
That's everyone's got their price.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I can die and say I've had it, and
Yeah.
hey, if I died with an extra $75, my kids are just going to blow it on some stupid shit anyway. I'd rather have the West Flutter.
Here lies John Staradumsky. He was able to drink West Flutter in 12.
His kids are each $15 poorer.
Sorry. The fruit of my loins. I drank your inheritance.
Too many West Flutters, but I'll be in heaven because it's a Abbey.
Okay,
Exactly.
so my crate will close and ship on the 16th. It will not be here in time for that show.
Yeah, it might not be here in time for the second show. It takes about a week and a half for the shipping.
It wouldn't make it for the show.
It's not gonna make it for you'll have it. You'll have it for the 31st.
Yep, the 16th, the 27th. They're saying.
You'll have it for the Halloween show.
I can't change it. I'm actually take that off then, because next
You
week
can't. The earliest you can. The earliest you can. It's every Monday, right? The crates close on Monday, so the earliest you can have it close is next Monday.
Yeah, because it was actually a cider. Because next week we are
2 weeks.
it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
No,
Still
still
not
won't
gonna
make
have
it. It's
still won't
still
have
not
it.
going to.
Well,
make it.
you might. There's a possibility. It depends on how quick the shipping is, but
I can do well.
There you
go. Because in 2 weeks we will doing. John and I were talking, and it came to our awareness. We've never done a cider show.
Nope.
Interesting.
We've never even drank a cider on the show.
never even had a cider on the show. Yeah.
But you guys do like cider, so
Sure.
Yeah. Not most American ciders, especially some of the more mass-produced stuff. The sweet apple cider just made boozy, like the Americans like to do. Carrie's not a big cider fan because of that. And when we were at the AC Beer Festival, there was actually a French cidery there.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a line. And when you got to the front, you understood why, because they walked you through what French cider was all about, what European cider is all about. So we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks. We're not
2 weeks on the cider show.
We're not going to blow our load here.
Exactly.
But, so
have either
let's just say the Americans don't do cider well, other than some of the
some of the smaller craft cideries, and
except for the craft cideries.
That's what we're going to be talking about, keying on those. So, have either of you moved on to your third beer? Because I have
not yet.
I have not, because I've been milking this one a little bit because I really want to get everything out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to say, the more I drank it, the more I liked it.
There you go.
That astringency is still there. So if anybody had 5 as
5 is the over under for
actually 4.5. So
4.5 would have been the over under for over. Yeah.
So we may have hit the over.
There you go.
No, this might be only the fourth time I said astringency. Oh, now it's 5.
Now it's 5. There you go.
There you go.
So anyway, I apologize. I drank that second beer of mine a little quicker, but it's because it's one of my favorites, the whole hog pumpkin.
Well, mine's. I'm moving on to my third, John.
There you go. I've already poured my third. So,
Well, then what is it?
my third is the other one I think that John had for the first time this year, and just forgot that he had it for the first time this year. And that would be caramel pumpkin.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I couldn't find that.
There you go.
'Cause you know
I
what?
got a bottle from
Halftime.
halftime. I wanted to make sure I got it. And then this is the weirdest thing is that I wanted it. It was so good. I wanted more. So I went back to get more and they didn't have it. And I lamented on this fact. And then today when I was looking for beers for the show tonight, I found three bottles of it. I'm like, where in the hell did I get another 4-pack of caramel pumpkin? But anyway, it's very good. Yeah.
And I actually put it in proper glassware.
There you go.
Further tier. Okay.
I have no.
However, it's pseudo
pumpkin glass.
it's pseudo proper glassware. It's not a pumpkin glass.
Oh.
It's a Warlock glass.
Oh,
And you know what?
that
I
counts.
do. It's funny because I have a Warlock glass in a box
In storage.
And actually, for the next one, I do have the proper glassware for it, but that's also in a box.
Box and storage.
And I wanted to wear my Rosemary's Baby shirt tonight, but guess where that is?
In a box and storage.
It's in a box and storage.
Storage. There you go. We have a comment from us, Very Green.
Eddie does like his treehouse. Eddie, I really hope you're not rock climbing tomorrow because it's going to be a little difficult if you're on 4 of those.
4 Very Greens. There you go. Well, cheers, Ed.
Eddie's retired. Eddie's a smart man. He has retired. He's got family up near Cooperstown, so he knows Omagong very well.
There you go.
Never brought me back any Eddie.
Eddie?
Never
Any
brought me
Eddie?
back.
Never
Any
brought me back
Eddie.
any Eddie.
Any Eddie.
Any Eddie. Any Yeti.
Oh,
Yeti.
no. Wow. I need a Yeti.
I could go for a Yeti.
Well,
soon.
no wonder he didn't bring any Yeti. He was in Cooperstown. No, he
Hey,
didn't.
you know what?
Wasn't in Denver. He was like,
You know what? I now like Yeti even better. You know why I like Yeti even better?
why do you like Yeti even better?
They've never done a pumpkin spice Yeti.
There you go. No, they haven't. They have not.
That's respect.
So
I am going to pull a reverse Flaydung here, and I'm going to drink a Warlock out of a pumpkin
glass. There you go.
and John just beat me to my 4th
There you go.
because Warlock's going to be my 4th, and it's
There
last
you
year.
go.
Is that last year's Warlock, John? How old
No,
was that
this is
Warlock?
this year's.
I'm drinking last year's Warlock.
And I actually was going to save this for the 4th beer, but I couldn't resist after John had it. So I had to
So
do it.
my 3rd, and we'll see if I have the dexterity to open my 4th because I do need to use the bottle opener for the 4th because this is my 3rd.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah.
I saw this mother on the shelf. I'm like, I haven't seen this on the shelf, and I don't know how long.
Mm-hmm.
And I grabbed that thing, and it's the only time that I think I enthusiastically grabbed a pack of pumpkin ale.
I have some that are a few years old, and I have one.
These
bottle,
things age beautifully.
yeah, that I need to drink.
I have 4 years right now. Currently, right now, I have 1 bottle of 2019. I have 2 bottles of 2020, 2 bottles of 2021. I think I have 2 bottles of 2022 as well. So I have 1 bottle of 2019 going back to 2019, and then I have a 4-pack from this year that I haven't even had one yet. I haven't even had one Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I told you Whole Hog is a close second to my number 1. Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin is my number 1.
And here again, this is another beer that actually uses pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
It is not so aggressively spiced that all you taste are the spices. You taste the ale. You can taste the malts.
Right.
You can taste the pumpkin. You can taste the yeast. You can taste every aspect of this beer.
Mm-hmm.
And for the ABV on this thing, to be able to pick out every flavor in this beer, every component of this beer, it's 8%. So it's not ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But back when this came out, there were no pumpkin ales that were 8%.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Avery came along and said, fuck y'all. We're shooting straight up there. Oh man,
Yeah, was it pumpkin with the KY for kin? So it's
Rumpkin.
it's a rumpkin. They have
Rumpkin, where they rum barrel aged it,
Yeah.
and that was genius.
Yeah.
Rum barreling age of pumpkin ale.
well, Southern Tier did that too. They
Yep.
made pumpkin and they aged
Yeah.
it in rum barrels and they called it Rum King.
Rum King.
They had an espresso one too, didn't they?
They had an espresso
yes,
one. They did, yeah.
Which I was very happy when that came out, because one of my favorite pumpkin beers, coffee pumpkin beers, was taken over by AB InBev, the infamous beer that AB InBev made fun of during the Super Bowl right after acquiring them. It's like, good job, idiots.
And they actually AB just sold off a bunch of their breweries, including
They did. They didn't sell off They sold a Red Hook. They didn't sell off Elysian.
They didn't sell.
Elysian makes a million pumpkin beers.
Yeah,
But Red Hook makes a very
just
good pumpkin porter, and I'm hoping. I've always liked it, but they sold it to the Canadian company that owns Sweetwater, and here in Georgia, and they have left Sweetwater pretty much alone. So I'm hoping
Tilray. They sold Tilray,
yeah. So I'm hoping that they let those breweries.
Well, they sold off one of the other breweries. They sold off Blue Point.
Yes.
After all they did with Blue Point, they sold off Blue Point, and
which excites me.
Yeah, exactly. Because Toasted Lager
was one of the best.
Was a really, really, really good. It was delicious, and then AB InBev started brewing it.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get back to it. Now they did leave certain smaller batch stuff alone with Blue Point, and I will tell you. I don't know if either of you have ever been to Blue Point out in Patchogue, but the old brewery before they were purchased, or at least whatever deal they had.
I never got there before they were bought, so I never went.
It was a small brewery, and it was a cool space, though. They had a lot of outdoor space. They used to do, and I believe they still do it in November now. They used to do it in April. They do a Cask Ale Fest, but it's all local breweries. They have a bunch of their own, and then they bring all local Long Island, New York, some New England, and a couple of Jersey breweries over. It's all Cask Ales, and it's a really, really, really good event. But they built a new brewery in downtown. Like, this was almost on the water in Patchogue, the old space. It's gone now. Their breweries, it's huge, and obviously it's AB InBev money, and now it's sold to Tilray. So I'm thinking that maybe the Toasted Lager will come around again. So we'll see. Well, more on that as it develops.
I'm going to come back to this. The other thing I love about this beer, with the base beer, it throws a little caramel.
Nice.
Right, so when you get that caramel with the pumpkin spices and the pumpkin together, and I think that is really the key to this beer, is that.
Then you might like the caramel pumpkin.
I was going to say,
but that's
ironically, this beer throws a little caramel. So.
That's they've enhanced the caramel in this one. In that one, this one is just, you get those malts that are used that can throw caramel, and that's what they've done with this beer. This is one of the best crafted pumpkin ales in the country. It's one of the few that I actually almost enjoy drinking.
Almost enjoy drinking. You really want to ride that line of, I don't want to really admit that I like them, and I'm going to kind of ride this line here.
No, I really. It's just. The whole history behind pumpkin ales, I don't particularly like.
Speaking of the history of pumpkin ales, I got to get this story in before.
Go for it.
Yeah.
But I have of course, pumpkin ales, to me, they're the original American style, right?
Yes, I will give you that. Yes.
They would not have been in the early colonial days. They wouldn't have been anything like today's spice beers, because they were brewed out of necessity, right?
Yep.
There's a famous little ditty in New England from the day saying, if barley be wanting to make into malt, we must be content and find it no fault, for we can make liquor to sweeten our lips from pumpkins and parsnips and walnut tree chips. Now, the parsnip and walnut tree chip beers never went anywhere, but the pumpkin beers, those suckers took off, right? But the point is that they didn't have barley, they didn't have malt in the early days when the Pilgrims first got here and settlers in Virginia. So they used what was readily available. And I'm a direct descendant of William Bradford, who came over on the Mayflower and was the first.
This is why you like pumpkin ales.
It's one of the reasons,
There
because
you go.
everybody knows that when 4 centuries ago the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, and one of the reasons that I've seen it attributed to William Bradford. Chuck Triplett reminded me today that it's probably more often attributed to the captain of the Mayflower, but I'm not a direct descendant of the captain of the Mayflower, so I'm
Screw
going
him.
with William Bradford.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the reason they landed the ship was that our victuals were much spent, especially our beer. So the moral of the story is that all of you Johnny-come-latelys out there in the craft beer world, my ancestors were out there 4 centuries ago making beer runs to find the latest in American craft beer, long before you guys ever did. So
Absolutely.
there you go. And but the connection
Yeah.
is again that what did they, when they got there, the Native Americans introduced them to the pumpkin. Pumpkins originally, they originated.
And this is so appropriate because yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And pumpkins came from Central America and Mexico. They weren't originally from North America, but they spread here by the time that the colonists, the Pilgrims, arrived.
Oh, no, wait a second. There was no one living here before the colonists arrived.
They were, but yeah. Luckily, they had pumpkins, right? So
Fair enough.
Well, they needed, they
and
could.
they introduced them.
Grain
to
that they
colonists,
had.
who shortly thereafter killed them for it. But
Yeah.
Any grain that the colonists had, they needed to turn into bread.
Well, they gave them, like, it was cold. They gave them nice blankets to use. I mean, so.
infected with smallpox.
Yeah. But they needed to use all their grains that they had left over or could possibly grow for bread. So they needed another soluble sugar.
Right.
And that's where the pumpkin came in, the walnut
Very
chips, the
fermentable.
parsnips.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the point that I make about this is that when they brought in their first crop of wheat and barley and had excess,
Right.
first thing they did is they started making beer out of that stuff and stopped making pumpkin ales because they were god awful. There was just something to get them with a nice buzz until Buffalo
They had
Bill
alcohol,
came.
so they lived
Yeah.
through it, right? They suffered, but
Until Buffalo Bill came along and decided to rejuvenate the style, and it could have ended there until Sam Calagione decided to popularize the style.
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't decide to popularize the style, but he came out with a beer. He actually won a beer contest with it at the Punkin' Chunkin' competition,
Sure.
and it became huge. And now
almost everybody.
every July,
Yeah.
July and August, we get inundated with them.
But
Like
it
them
does
or
have
hate
that
them.
charm of because they didn't have pumpkins in Europe. Most of the styles we enjoy today, the original styles that America has been big on modifying and trying to make bigger and better and going in all different directions. But it was the one thing, really. I mean, you can make an argument for steam beer and cream ale. But those are still variations on beers that came over here from Europe, whereas
Sure.
beers brewed with pumpkin had to be American, since they, maybe they're originally from, I'm sure the Central Americans and the Mexicans.
I'm sure somebody in Central
Yeah.
America and Mexico
Yeah.
actually brewed a pumpkin. No, but maybe not. But
Well,
I
they were
mean,
making
it's
chicha, though,
it's
so-
They're making
a
chicha.
very big possibility, right?
So they
Yeah.
might very well have fermented pumpkins as well as corn, right? So
It's very possible. I just hope they didn't chew it and spit it out. The way they did the corn.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and I love this whole. It was the original American beer, and you look at all the things that we've done to beer. We've Americanized so much of it. We have made imperial stouts. We made milkshake stouts, pastry stouts, imperial IPAs, milkshake IPAs. We've done all these things too. We've Americanized so many things. And the Europeans are starting to follow all those trends. They're starting to brew these themselves. Europeans don't do pumpkin beers.
Yep. That's a good point, actually. I mean, because one of the fun things about Untapped is I have a lot of people I'm connected with there in Europe.
Sure.
They're going, "What are you drinking?"
And I've never thought of that, but you see all the time. You see New
What is
England
this
IPAs,
pumpkin ale you speak of?
but I don't see any European.
They have no desire. They have no
Yeah.
desire.
Well, how readily available are pumpkins in Europe, though?
No, they can get them now.
I mean, they can get them, but how readily available are they?
Okay, so
Crop-wise,
this
growing
is,
there,
so
they're
we're
there.
going to mention this damn brewery again. But Carton Brewing makes a beer called Rav. Rav is a pumpkin ravioli beer, which is based off of a recipe out of Italy.
Yep.
So the Italians do grow pumpkins, and they make things out of it. Pumpkins did make it to continental Europe. They grow them there. They do make dishes out of it. Pumpkin is a thing there. Is it huge? No. Not like it is here,
They do.
but they do make dishes out of pumpkin over there.
One dish, the ravioli definitely, but I mean one dish that, and it's one of my favorites. It really is. It's like a butternut squash ravioli, or a butternut squash, a butternut squash tortelloni. Actually, is what there's a restaurant on Hanover Street in Boston, that it's Panza. Is the name of it.
If I knew
make amazing butternut squash tortelloni with a brown butter sage sauce. It's amazing. It's so good.
If I knew we were going to mention Boston so much on the show, I would have wore my Bukowski shirt.
There you go. There you go. I could have worn my Bukowski shirt.
I wore this instead.
Actually, I would have worn my Tom Brady jersey. To be honest with you, is what I would have done.
Oh, if you're going to wear a Tom Brady jersey, and the thing is, I didn't think about this, John, but if I'd want to make fun of you, I do have a Traderade shirt.
From up
Smug.
in Rhode Island.
Smug Brewing.
Yeah.
So, nah.
Yeah, but that wasn't for Brady. That was for Gronk.
That was for Gronk. No, it was
No, the one I had was from Brady. It was Brady.
Was it?
No, Traderade was brewed for Gronk.
But it had Brady on it, right?
No. It has it's got the Tampa Bay logo.
Yes, this one did too. They must have done two because
maybe they did too. Maybe they did a Brady one and then they did a Gronk one.
With the,
no, they did it for Gronk
with Brady on it.
I was living there when they brewed it, and they brewed it, and
maybe it was the second time they brewed it though.
The first time, no, it was the first time they brewed it. It was during COVID, and when you went to the brewery to pick up your 4-pack of Traderade, they had a cardboard cutout of Gronk back in the brewery for you to see. And the thing about Rob at Smug, he rarely does a beer twice, other than his flagships.
Right.
He was forced to do this one again because it sold so well. But it was always about Gronk. Brady was already at Tampa.
Yeah. Pardon me while I have one more one of Jess's
pumpkin spice almonds.
There you go. No, just gonna have one.
Oh, it's made by Choker.
It's made by Choker, yes.
Choker.
So anyway, and you know, of course, Dave, you're well aware of my favorite Smug beer.
Yes, that one. I don't know if we could ever get our hands on that one again.
So good, such an amazing beer.
It's just maple syrup in a can.
Pretty much. Hence me saying it's such an amazing beer.
It is perhaps the greatest maple adjunct beer ever created. It's called Cabin
Fever, right?
Cabin Fever.
Yeah.
And it's really just it's almost basically just fermented maple syrup.
Give me time. We'll work on one.
Yep, you gotta get. Do a collab with Rob.
I have a few maples in the works, so don't worry about that.
Do a collab with Rob. Take one of those maple beers, rum barrel age it.
And maybe you're right. I just found my photo from my website, and it doesn't have either. I don't. For some reason, I was sure it was about Brady, but you could very well be right. It just says Traderade on it.
Well, I'll give you this, John. When Dave was first telling me about it, when he was first up there, and he called me like that day.
There it is.
And he told me what it was. I immediately went to Brady. Obviously, it's Brady, right? It's got to be Brady, right? Yeah, apparently, it was for Gronk.
No. I was at the brewery when that was first released, and I talked to him about it. It is about Gronk. Now, what's interesting is the Tampa Bay logo, the Tampa Bay Buccaneer, looks like Brady. So I think they did that on purpose because Brady's the whole reason Gronk came out of retirement and went down to the Buccaneers would play with Brady. Sure. But no, I lived 4 blocks from the brewery. I was there during COVID. That brewery was my lifeline to alcohol and also other human contact. One of the guys who worked there, Andrew, I saw he was the human I saw more than anybody else in 3 months during the beginning of the outbreak. But that was a fun release. I did manage to get the shirt. Maybe John, maybe next time you're on, I'll wear the shirt.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
that was a fun. And I miss that brewery. That's yes, I miss Tilted Barn. I do miss Tilted Barn. I miss Long Live. I miss Buttonwoods. There's a bunch I miss, but nothing like Smug, because
My brother lives right around the corner from Buttonwoods.
It's such a cool brewery.
Yeah,
too,
I miss
right?
most of the older ones, and you know, the originals like Union Station and Trinity. Those were
Right.
and Coddington. Coddington is like really good too. But
Yeah.
I-
Great burgers too, man.
yeah, everything. The food was always good there.
I just went in the Jersey closet.
There you
Oh,
go. But the thing about Smug, and it's this whole thing where if you got a brewery right around the corner from you, every beer you drink there is probably 0.5 to 0.75 better
Yep.
than it probably is.
Yeah, the proximity is.
'Cause
I got a
everything-
Taco Mac right around the corner from me. So
That's true.
everything always tastes better there. But I get it. You know, it's true. You know, your local brewery is that. I actually have Reformation is maybe another mile from there. So
Well, that's the whole thing. It's what you declare your local brewery. So when I was in Rhode Island, being just 4 blocks from Smug, it was really easy to call that my local brewery.
Yeah.
Here, what I refer to as my local brewery is not actually the closest brewery to me. It's not even the second closest brewery to me. May not be the third closest brewery to me, but I consider my local brewery Ghost Hawk. It doesn't hurt that it's across from the best hot dog joint in all of America, at Rutt's Hut. And they play that up. And, you know, Rutt's Hut loves it too. Rutt's Hut is a great partner with them.
No, they do. They do.
But I consider them my local brewery. So, but
well, in several months, you're going to consider a brewery about 45 minutes away from you, your local brewery. So
I kind of have to. They're our sponsor.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm worried that because John's got to get there, you know, at some point for the opening. Tom's got to come in. Doug's got to come up. So I'm worried that the 5 of us in one location together.
No. We've already told. Hasn't Doug already promised us that he's going to kidnap both of them?
Doug promised he's going to kidnap Tom and John and get them to the opening. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
well, that's going to be tough because he's going to have to go south and west simultaneously to accomplish.
Apparently he's up for the tasks.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got faith in Doug.
But I don't. I just
Doug,
don't
if you're
know
still
if
watching, make sure you're still up for it, right? Just making sure.
Is the brewing industry going to allow the 5 of us to be in the same place?
This
if
is
we got
the
hit by
question.
an asteroid, American craft brewing would suffer greatly for that. And I think
I believe you're right. So.
not only for inspiration to style, but beer consumption would drop by 50%.
Oh,
way down,
massive. Because you're also taking Potensky out of the equation, not just the 5 of us. You throw Potensky into there.
Well, he'll be there. Maybe he can hide behind one of the fermenters when the asteroid comes down, and he'll be saved. So.
And you also have some of our jackass friends there who are also massive consumers.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's collateral damage at that point. So. Anyway, yes, I finished that caramel pumpkin.
And I say jackass friends with all the love in the world.
Oh, it's a term of endearment.
Yeah, absolutely. And
absolutely.
They know it.
Exactly.
So
So
we'll embrace that. Okay, so we're going to our 4th.
I'm going to my 4th. I saw John still has a little bit of his 3rd left.
My 4th is John's 3rd. So after drinking the Weyerbacher Imperial, going off to Warlock, and Warlock is not a small beer.
No, it's 8.6.
So yeah, just a little bit bigger than Imperial Pumpkin from Weyerbacher.
I got both of you beat with my 4th.
But the thing about Warlock is the reason I like Warlock.
ABV wise, not necessarily
Yes.
flavor wise.
The thing about Warlock, and one of the reasons I like it so much is for pumpkin ale. It's the pumpkin ale mixed with it's the 2X stout, I believe.
It's the 2X stout, yeah.
And I love the 2X stout. The 2X stout is, a standalone stout. It's a really good stout. It's not one of my favorite stouts, but as a standalone. But you blend it with pumpkin, and I can't think of anything else that you could possibly blend this with that could stand up the pumpkin. And I'm going to say something about pumpkin. Now, John, you just drank a pumpkin, right?
I just had a caramel pumpkin. So
The
it's
caramel pumpkin.
Pumpkin with caramel.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing about pumpkin, and people always look at me funny when I say this, pumpkin to me, the flavor of pumpkin, and the reason I like pumpkin so much is, to me, it's not so much a pumpkin ale as, to me, it really gives off a flavor of roasted pumpkin seeds.
Yep. There's a little bit of nuttiness in there too. I think they put some pecans in there.
Okay.
And they brew
So
it.
maybe that's why it throws pumpkin seeds for me. And I think that's why I like pumpkin more so than any other pumpkin beer, because it's really, to me, it's not so much a pumpkin beer as a pumpkin seed beer.
Yeah.
So then you take that beer and mix it with their 2X stout. And well, we'll just save that for the top threes now. Won't we?
And there you go. We'll save that for the top threes. There you go.
Yeah, I do like dark pumpkin ales, and not a lot of breweries make them. Of course, Elysian does, because they do everything.
Pumpkino,
Yeah,
yeah.
Pumpkino and everything else.
Yeah,
And then when you
they
said
do
Red Hook makes the pumpkin porter.
they do a porter.
Well, speaking of dark pumpkin ales, right?
Are you finishing off with the dark there, John? No,
I'm
you're finishing off with one of the kings, aren't you?
I'm finishing off with.
No, we're talking Staradumsky, not you, John.
No, I actually, this was going to be my third, but I couldn't resist, so I'm going to go with one of my favorites, which is the Schlafly.
So when John and I were deciding what to drink, John said he had Schlafly. I'm like, Staradumsky is going to drink a Schlafly on the show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
I don't have
that's
a Schlafly glass.
And he's got
that's a beautiful glass.
That's a great glass right there. Yeah,
That's
there
an
you
OG glass right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I do love, again, the just as you do, it's the stout character for Warlock that makes it
Yeah.
so good for me.
Yeah, it's such a good beer. It
One
really,
of the
really
things
is.
about pumpkin that I like is the buttery crust notes in it.
Yep.
I've always
Yeah.
got that out of it, and I think the caramel one works really good because it's basically just pumpkin and it tastes like piece of pumpkin pie. You get the crust, you get the spice, you get the.
It's like they drizzled caramel on top of
Yeah,
the
there
pumpkin
you
pie.
go.
Yeah,
So
Now, here's
that
a
makes it really
question:
good there.
do you think they allowed a little diacetyl to get that
Yeah,
buttery
I do.
crust?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
get it.
when a brewery can do that,
Mhm.
allow the release of diacetyl into the beer to enhance the beer,
Sure.
that's a next level
Well, there
artisan
are
work.
there are certain styles of beer where diacetyl plays a role
Ringwood
in,
ales.
in the beer. Yeah.
I mean, classic English ales.
Absolutely.
A lot of them throw off diacetyl,
Mhm.
and that's one of my. I love Ringwood beers.
Ringwoods are amazing.
For
They
that
are.
reason, because
Yeah.
they do that, right? They throw off a little
Mhm.
diacetyl.
Now, if you happen to go to a brewery and get yourself basically a glass of butterscotch,
Yeah.
probably not where they were going with this.
No.
beer.
And there's another beer that surprisingly, because I don't think it's appropriate
When it
the
comes to
style-
diacetyl, less is more.
Yeah. But there's one beer out there, and it is a classic beer. It's a benchmark for the style.
Yeah.
And I don't think diacetyl really is part of the. I could be wrong here. I don't think diacetyl is part of the style guide.
Right.
But Saison DuPont to me has always thrown just a slight amount of diacetyl, which I think enhances that beer. Rather than detracting from it, because you would think diacetyl in a saison would be bad. But next time you take a saison DuPont, drink that, look for it, and I think it's there in very minute. Yeah, and
I'll have to
every
do
time
that.
I've tasted, I'm like, there's a little butteriness to it, and I think that's what's always made saison DuPont stand out.
Now I have to get another can.
I'm gonna have to get a
And-
bottle of Saison DuPont and find this
It's a
out.
good
Yeah.
point about, I mean, things that sometimes can be a defect in one beer can be welcome in another. And Doug and I always use the example of Kessler Oktoberfest, which we drank in the early 90s. We got it from Beer Across America. Probably the worst Oktoberfest that we ever had. But it was throwing diacetyl off like crazy. But swear to God, it tasted like liquid buttered lobster tails, which is like we were all over that beer. It was like, stylistically, you suck, but hedonistically,
Yeah, I'll have a few more. Give me a couple more. Well,
I like that hedonistically.
quick story. I'm not going to say the name of the brewery and anything else, but back in another incarnation of life, when I was running a bar, we had a beer fest.
Oh,
for
the
state.
bar that's now
Apartments and
Yeah.
taxpayers. Yeah. So anyway, we did a day of different breweries, right? We probably had like 15 different breweries, and one of the breweries just got a case of a beer. I won't even say what style it was because I don't want to call out any brewery, right? So I won't even say what style it was, but just wanted to get one thing from that brewery. Got something from every brewery. Most of it was draft, some bottles, but got a case of this one particular style, just one from this one brewery. And nobody, if we started at 12, it was a Saturday. By 5:30, nobody had any of them. These two guys walk in, they sit at the bar, and they order it for the first time, right? So, the bartender serves them the beer. And I'm standing behind the bar, and I'm overhearing them, but they don't know. I'm like facing the other way, and I hear one of them say, "Oh my God, this beer is delicious. It tastes just like butterscotch." Right? So the other one takes a sip and says, "You're right. This is delicious." I don't say anything. I reach in, I get one of the bottles out, I open it up, I pour it. It's a straight bottle. I'm drinking diacetyl. It's just straight diacetyl, right? I dump it out. They don't see what I'm doing. I had 24 bottles of this. I'm like, how am I getting rid of this? Right? They had 9 each. They loved it. They drank nothing else. They had 9 each.
And 18, they Ubered home.
They Ubered home. Yeah, no, they did. They actually did take a cab. I think they took a cab at the time.
Okay.
But
everyone lived happily ever
right.
after.
They had 9 each, 18 sold 18 bottles. The one I dumped, that's 19. So I threw the other 5 out. Done.
Considered a wash.
Damn, they drank 9 each. You should have given them the other 5 bottles.
I should have just given them to take home. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not right. He's not wrong there. I was in a brewery once, and I'm sitting with another beer personality in New Jersey. He became a distributor for a little bit, but he was running an off-flavored course, and he took and the course was over, and he showed up at a brewery that I was at. Like John, I'm not going to mention the brewery because we want them on the show eventually. Sure. And so we're sitting there, and we ordered an IPA. I take a sip. He takes a sip. His students are drinking, and I look at him. He looks at me, and I don't say anything yet. And he gives me the, shh. Okay, students, what do you get out of this beer? Someone says, movie theater popcorn. And he looks at me. I'm like, very nice. He's like, I taught them well. And so he finally goes, what you are tasting is diacetyl, if you remember. And so we tell this to the beer tender, and she texts the owner. And the owner's, you're crazy. There's no diacetyl in that beer. We're like,
well, of course he's going to stick up for his beer, right?
Yeah. We're like, okay. You've got, and I won't mention his name, and you've got the Beer Samurai in your brewery, and we're both saying you've got diacetyl in your beer. He's like, fine, because we're texting him separately, and he's like, fine, it's got to be the lines. So he tells the beer tender to take the 2 of us back to the bright tanks. So we go to the bright tank. She pours us some stuff off the bright tank, and we know he's got his. And I might be giving the brewery away here. His whole brewery is.
Don't even say it. But yeah,
there's cameras everywhere.
Right, of course.
And it's germane to the story because we take a sip off the bright tank.
I thought you were going to say something else as well.
No. We take a sip off the bright tank. We look up at the camera, and we both just upend the glass. We both get a text back that says, fuck you.
To be fair, though, some people can't really discern diacetyl.
It can be tough. We did a homebrew competition at one brewery I was associated with years and years ago, specifically for pumpkin ales, actually. And it was a homebrew competition. I had one entered. It made the cut of the last 3. I'll give you that. It wasn't the one we brewed, but it made the cut of the last 3. But whatchamacallit, there was probably 20 some odd entries or whatever. And we were sitting there, me and the owners and everybody were judging them. And there were 2 of them that were just straight diacetyl. I mean, you couldn't even taste pumpkin, spicing pumpkin, anything. It was just butterscotch. It was like, we drank those.
That might enhance a pumpkin beer.
We literally, it was horrible. It was not part of it. We literally
it was rancid. It was rancid butter, not butterscotch.
It was bad. We literally had to stop, drink a couple of the beers, eat some food before we continued drinking the rest of the beers because we didn't want to, Yeah, it was crazy. I just want to throw this out there really quick. My fourth beer.
Fourth.
I went with the Fear.
Oh, that's
from
good.
I was
Flying
looking for the
Dog.
Fear. I don't.
Not,
think I've
by the
had
way, 9%. So I went higher than
Okay,
any
you
other
win.
business. I win. I never win. I never win the ABV battle. On
No,
this
this
show.
is
You know that.
this is the second time you've won the ABV battle.
Probably in 3.5 years. This is the
Yeah,
second time
because
I won.
there was one time you pulled out an Avery during one of the shows.
That's true. I did.
And you pulled out an Avery.
It's like all bets were off. I'm done.
I had a Heavy Seas. Actually, I bought a 6-pack of them this year. A barrel aged
Greater Pumpkin?
Greater Pumpkin,
Oh yeah.
Oh geez,
Yeah,
I'm still looking for that every
which is
time.
10. But
Yeah.
I decided I need to only go with one high alcohol.
High one, yeah.
Because I got to work tomorrow, and that was the Warlock.
So Warlock, yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
and
only
that's-
8.6. That's 8.6, yeah.
8.6, yeah.
Yeah.
But as it turned out, with the inverse glass reaction between you and me, I made the right choice.
Yeah, you made the right choice.
Yeah.
That worked perfectly. All right, should we go to our top threes?
Yeah, let's do
Let's do this. Let's go to all right, our top threes tonight, as is every pumpkin show that we do, would be top 3 favorite pumpkin beers. Top 3 favorite pumpkin
To
beers.
see if our top
Version
threes have
3.
changed.
Version 3. This is the third time we're doing it. The first time we weren't even doing top 3 lists. The first pumpkin show. It was just Dave and I. So we just drank our beers, talked about it, and we never did the top 3 list. We started the top 3s with the first guest we had, which was probably about a month after we did the first pumpkin.
We can say his name once.
Yeah. Okay. One at once. Yeah. Augie.
Augie
That's
Carter.
it. Right, there you
Oh, that's twice. Shit.
yeah, don't say it again. Don't say it again. The top 3 favorite pumpkin beers, version 3. So what we're going to do tonight is this. I actually have last year's, mine, Dave's, and John's top 3s for pumpkin beers. So we're going to compare and contrast. But then we'll talk about some other ones that we've had. Maybe they can filter in or whatever. We'll see if anything's changed, and then we'll go from there. So, John,
You know, I only drink pumpkin beers in this show, John.
I know you do. So, John, why don't you kick us off?
So it's always fluctuating, but as it stands right now,
Mhm.
my list is number 3, the Schlafly that I just had.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great beer. It's loaded with pumpkin spice, and it has that buttery crust note to it.
It does.
That I really love in this style. Number 2 is a beer that I also have, but didn't have tonight. But again, for the same reason, because I didn't want to drink too many of a high alcohol content. But it's the Lexington Alltech Kentucky
Nice.
Pumpkin Ale. And that's really a great beer. It's one that I had opportunities to try for a long time, didn't. And when I finally did, I'm like, dumbass, why didn't you try this earlier? And then at the top of the list is the Warlock. For many of the reasons that Dave talked about, I just love pumpkin with those dark stout or porter malty flavors and the spice. I think they really, really work well together.
Very nice. All right, we'll come back to you. We'll just do our top 3s and see where we're at as far as comparing and contrasting, and then we'll talk about some other new ones that we might have had that can filter in, and I'll let you know how that compares to your last year's top 3 as well when we do that. Dave, let's jump to you and see where you stand.
My number 3 is that the Weyerbacher Imperial Pumpkin.
Okay.
First one I ever had. It's one of those that uses pumpkin in the beer.
Mm-hmm.
To actually use pumpkin in the beer as one of the soluble sugars and get yourself up to 8%, I find that impressive, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's just a really strong supporting malt bill behind it to get yourself up there. But I just love the fact that they don't overspice the hell out of the thing.
Right.
Number 2 is really just a masterclass of restraint with spicing. And that is John's number 3. That is Schlafly. Schlafly, as far as the pumpkin pie ales out there,
Mm-hmm.
they're the class. They're the tops. No one does it as well as they do. I think the way they can restrain the spicing so that it really just enhances the beer rather than taking over the beer.
Sure.
And still it's got a nice light body to it. It's such a drinkable beer.
Schlafly is so good. It's really good.
It's one of the classics. It's one of the kings, and I do like it. But number one for me is Warlock. Warlock. There's something about Warlock. Is just, unless I'm mistaken, Southern Tier is the first one who figured out. Let's take our pumpkin ale. Let's blend it with one of our stouts and see what happens. And it's magic. It's aptly named Warlock.
Mm-hmm.
There's something behind this beer. I'm drinking a year-old Warlock, and what the stout malts and the kind of that bitterness from those malts have done with the spices of.
Did you say schmaltz?
Malts.
Did they do a pumpkin ale? I don't think so.
I don't think they did one.
And what they've done,
If they did, it was a sour pumpkin ale.
Yeah, it would be a weird. But with all
not that they make sour, but they make sour beers. Not that, anyway. Okay.
But even with that buttery crust, when everything starts to gets amalgamated, I might be crazy here, but it's almost throwing a little toasted coconut once everything gets together there.
To hear you talk about a pumpkin beer in such endearing terms is just a value statement on how good that beer is. I really
yes. This beer, I will say, of every pumpkin ale I've ever had, there's only one I truly love.
That's that one right.
And this is it. This is a beer I would drink for a beer.
There you go. That and the fact that it's also my number one is validation of you.
I think it's the greatest pumpkin beer brewed.
Yeah.
There you
go. I'll give you we'll move on from there in a minute, but I'll give you my top three. In number three, Schlafly. Schlafly is my number three. Always has been, always will be.
It's
in my top three. It's one of the top three beers. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the top three pumpkins that's made. Period. My number two, I had tonight. Stevens Point Whole Hog Pumpkin. It's so well done, and like you heard, Dave has not had it yet. John had it for the first time this year. You heard what he had to say about it. It's really, really, really well done. Edges out Schlafly. These three edge out each other by the slimmest margins for me. But Whole Hog is amazing, and it's my number two. My number one, Weyerbacher Pure Pumpkin. It's so I mean, I'm sure that there's probably a little bit of nostalgia making that my number one, but it's still in my top three regardless. So those three are in my top three, and you can really interchange them in any order, really. But there's still the top three, no matter what. At this moment in time, still my top three. I'm going to go back to last year's really quick. And I wrote down, before I went back and looked at the notes from last year, I wrote down what my top three were. All right. So I didn't cheat by any means. My top three are exactly my top three from last year. Nothing has changed. All right. Going to Dave. You had Weyerbacher at your number three this year.
Mm-hmm. It was two last year, right?
It was two last year.
Yeah. I think my 2 and 3 swapped.
Your Schlafly's number two this year. Your Schlafly's number two this year. It was number three last year. And Warlock was your number one both years. John, last year, Schlafly was your number three. Warlock was your number one. You replaced your number two. Completely different. This year was Lexington All-Tech Kentucky Pumpkin Ale. Last year was Heavy Seas Greater Pumpkin.
Yeah. And they are interchangeable. They're very good. But Dave, in my defense, not many people know this, but being an ancestor of William Bradford, first thing he did, a lot of people don't know this, but first thing he did when they landed on Plymouth Rock was to drink a Southern Tier Warlock. So, so everybody knows, There you go. And it cast a spell on him. So.
And they were in any history book. It's just in the family annals.
No, I mean they were brewing in Lakewood, and they got the beer over to Massachusetts.
That's right.
By the time they landed,
that's damn good
Rock.
distribution,
So
right there.
Great distro in the 1600s. It's distro.
It was delivered in a DeLorean. So
by some guy named Marty. But
yeah,
you know what?
Doc Brown actually had a lot.
Doc Brown did it right. Exactly.
Yeah. The flux capacitor is still out of stock at O'Reilly's.
Yeah, you think a banana peel makes that thing go? You pour a little Warlock in it, and that thing's
it's that can of Miller High Life you poured.
Yeah,
Right?
But have you seen that, John? O'Reilly's Auto Parts actually has a part number for a flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor.
Really? No.
If you go to O'Reilly, you go to O'Reilly's website, go to the search, put in flux capacitor, you'll pull up an image of it.
It has been out of stock ever since they created a number for it, but it's I think it's genius marketing because it brings people to their website.
Sure.
Amazing.
I'm going to throw this out there. Our honorable mentions from last year. I'll give you mine. My honorable mentions.
I'm interested in mine because I think I know what it was.
All right, I'll give you mine. My number one honorable mention. It's probably my number 4. If we did a top 4, would be Avery Pumpkin. It's not the Rumpkin, the pumpkin, the Kentucky barrel aged pumpkin, not the rum barrel aged. The rum barrel aged is up there too, but the pumpkin, the regular. I mean, and Avery Pumpkin is what 13-14% anyway. I mean, it's up there to begin with.
It's not 87.
Well, I mean 601, right? It's close.
Oh,
once you get up that high, it doesn't really matter, right?
For those in the know, yeah, I just did math. Stop.
No math.
No, because you said 13, I said 87. My brain did that. It was
13 and 87 equals 100, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
I see what you did. All right. And then I got a couple of I threw a couple of honorable mentions for New Jersey pumpkins in there. River Horse Hippo Lantern. It doesn't quite crack maybe the top 10, but I mean it's close. It's a really solid beer. But for Jersey, it's one of the couple of
anybody listening on the audio podcast can't see the faces I'm making right now.
No. The Hippo Lantern Pumpkin is a decent beer. And I'll throw out there and shout out to 2 others, and the main ones that I wanted to get out there for my honorable mentions. It's Spellbound Pumpkin Ale that they do every year. John Kampanik and crew, if you will, and crew. They do it, and they actually do a couple of barrel aged ones too. They do a maple barrel aged one, and they do a bourbon barrel aged one, and they're both fantastic. And Carton, the pumpkin cream. I mean, from day one.
I like Scobeyville better, but
Scobeyville. Well, I'm saying Carton pumpkin cream is amazing.
Version.
But the Scobeyville is what they did was John. Jay started to talk about it before. What they did with Carton pumpkin cream. I won't say his first name, but Mr. Carton.
But pumpkin cream was.
Well, it was that's what I'm saying. It was a pumpkin.
It was
he doesn't like pumpkin pie. But he loves pumpkin soup. So he made a 12% cream ale, imperial cream ale, and he added pink peppercorns, orange oil, ginger, and pumpkin meat. Right. So he made a pumpkin soup beer. Right. And it was fantastic.
But then he took nutmeg in it too.
No nutmeg. No nutmeg.
Okay.
Nope. And then he took that and he aged it. He aged it in Laird's apple brandy barrels.
Now,
okay.
Laird's apple brandy is local to New Jersey.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, the Laird's orchard sits on the Monmouth battlefield from Revolutionary times.
And he called it Scobeyville. That was Scobeyville, and that's my other honorable mention in there.
Now, John, I've got a question for you.
Go for it. Me or him?
Jersey Johnny.
So
Beer Guru and I have put Warlock as our number 1.
Yep.
It doesn't make your honorable mention. Explain.
You
got some splaining to do, Lucy.
If you listen to what I said, Avery Pumpkin would have been my number 4. That's why it was an honorable mention. And then I mentioned some New Jerseys that I like.
Yeah. That's what you said.
Warlock would be my number 5. If I rounded out my number 5, Warlock would be my number 5. With Avery Pumpkin being Pumpkin, KY Pumpkin being my number 4.
KY Pumpkin? That's something different entirely.
PUMPKYN Pumpkin.
Because I guarantee you there's probably Pumpkin Spice KY.
It probably is.
So, you couldn't have phrased that any worse or better.
Better. Oh, it's totally better, right?
If the beer whisperer were here, he would know about it. He would know. Yeah.
He would know. He would know. Tom,
next time he's on the show, we'll have to ask him about
exactly.
Pumpkin Spice KY.
Tom, if you're out there, if you're listening with Doug right now, please comment in and let us know if you do know about it. All right, Dave, what do you think your honorable mention was from last year?
I really think it was the Human Robot Pumpkin Pineapple Smash.
That would be no.
It wasn't.
Nope.
What was it?
Carton Rav.
which makes a lot of sense considering I've only mentioned it during this show.
You talked about it before. Yeah, cotton wrap.
That's the one. That's the pumpkin ravioli, and it's not just pumpkin and ravioli. It's a very specific Italian dish, which has got pumpkin ravioli, beurre blanc, and shaved anisette toast over the top of it. And it has every single one of those flavors in that beer. And it really didn't get a very good reception because no one knew what the hell he was doing. But
right, yeah.
Once you understand that the owner of Carton Brewing, who shall go nameless for the rest of the show, was a food blogger for the longest time before he became a brewer. We didn't say him. You didn't have to throw him up. Throw up. Oh,
throw. Yeah. I didn't throw him up.
But he was a food blogger. He's a massive foodie, and to understand this was modeled after an amazing dish. A lot of people didn't get that, so it didn't have a really great reception. But I really think it was a genius beer.
It was very, very good. I like pumpkin cream better. But this was a different beer. This was modeled after, like Dave said, this was modeled after the dish. The
I forget what that's
ravioli,
called.
So.
There's a name to that dish. I'll look it up while keep going.
John, do you want to take a guess at what your honorable mentions were last year? You had three honorable mentions last year.
Alltech Lansing that I moved.
Alltech was not on there.
Oh, that's interesting. Rosemary's Baby.
Nope.
From Two Roads.
Mm-mm.
Then I am totally lost.
Sam Adams Fat Jack.
Oh, the original. Yes, not
yeah.
The
That was a good. That was a good.
Yeah.
The original one. Yes, the
Okay.
original one.
Yep.
Buffalo Bills.
Yep, that makes sense.
And Pumpkin, just regular pumpkin.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there you go. Those were your top threes.
Tortelli di zucca.
Yes, that's the dish.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, John, we'll start with you. Any new beers that you've had? Obviously,
Pumpkin beers.
Whole Hog and Caramel Pumpkin come to mind. But anything you want to throw up there? Those any other?
You just said throw up again. Stop saying throw up.
Yeah, I've been
up there.
I've been focused on Oktoberfest a lot, but I've been drinking the pumpkin beers. Those are the only two new ones that I can think of. I've been lucky enough to find a lot of Smutty Nose is an old friend that I'm glad that I was reacquainted with this year.
Yeah, it really is. I got to find some of that before it's gone. I do.
So happy to see that.
Samurai, any new stuff?
Pumpkin wise, other than the two I drank on the show today, no. But like John Staradumsky, to be specific, there's been some Oktoberfest out there. Ghost Hawk put out an Oktoberfest, but I think they did that last year. That was very good, but they did a Dortmunder this year. Nice. And I always thought that Dortmunder Gold from Great Lakes was the best Dortmunder done in this country.
That's very good.
I think it's been exceeded.
I haven't had it.
Oh,
Chris brewed a Dortmunder that's better than Great Lakes Dortmunder.
Are you surprised?
No, I worked with Chris for years.
And
I'm not surprised.
They know their Germans. They know their German styles there. And this Dortmunder was fantastic. I may have a can left of it, but to pry it out of Carrie's hands, you're not getting it.
Not getting it. I'll stop by and find
them. We may be going to we're probably going to Germany in April, and we're going to do Berlin and Munich. She goes, "Can we do a side trip to Dortmund after drinking that beer?" I'm like, that's on the east side of Germany.
Yeah, you're not getting over.
We're not getting over to Dortmund. Sorry, sweetie, we're not doing that. But at the Oktoberfest, it's funny because when I was looking for a fourth pumpkin to drink on the show, I went down to the liquor store that's just like right down there. And they were the ones looking for the Cerveza Calabaza. And they didn't have any, so I went someplace else and got one. But when we were doing our Oktoberfest show, I went down there and they surprised me because I came back with a Toppling Goliath Special Edition Oktoberfest.
You did. You had it on the show.
I had it on the show, and you can remember how much I enjoyed that beer. And that was my favorite beer on that show, and it came from a very unlikely source. I'm surprised at what they actually do carry there. And every now and then it surprised me with something good. And that was definitely one that really, really shocked me. But it shocked me that they had it, not that the beer was good. It's Toppling Goliath, for Christ's sake. They know what they're doing.
Oddly enough, I got a can of that from Halftime. And I was a little less impressed than you were with it, but it was a solid beer for Oktoberfest. I really like Toppling Goliath. They're a great brewery.
They brew so many things. So many good things.
What I think the reason I like it so much is it wasn't a full Oktoberfest. I think it was like, and maybe this was your issue with it. It was halfway between an Oktoberfest and a fest beer.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. It was a little
right.
It
wasn't quite a Märzen. It wasn't quite a fest.
Yes. It was light for a Märzen, and they're advertising it as a Märzen. So you're right, as a Märzen. It was a little lacking, but for me to ride the line between the two of them, a very, very drinkable Märzen is the way I would call it. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that it was full flavored like a Märzen, but bodied more like a fest beer.
Right.
Yeah, my preference is for Oktoberfest is towards decocted Märzens. If you have that done, then all over it. But
anything decocted,
yeah,
I'm all about, right?
But
so
we haven't talked about O'Fallon tonight for pumpkin beers. They make a slew
they do.
And
They're maybe not as many as Elysian, but yeah, they do.
Yeah, they make a pumpkin Oktoberfest, which is kind of like the best of both worlds too for this time of year, right? And that's pretty good.
So it's and I actually had one on the show a couple weeks ago because we Ross Brewing from New Jersey they do a Märzen, but they also do a pumpkin Märzen. So they call it Jacktoberfest.
Ah, that's cool.
What they do. So it's basically the same thing. But yeah, O'Fallon makes a slew of pumpkins. Not as many as Elysian, but they do make a ton. Nobody. I don't think anybody. I would think you could pick about 4 or 5 breweries, put them together that make the most, and they're not going to do as many as Elysian.
No, Elysian has like a whole festival over it where they have like 50 million beers and people jump out of.
Actually, back in the day, 2 years in a row, I did a pumpkin tap takeover for Elysian, where I had 18 taps of Elysian.
That's not a flight; that's an aircraft carrier.
It was right, and I literally had a fraction of the amount of pumpkins that I could have gotten from Elysian.
Wow, jeez,
yeah, it's true.
And that's actually a term, aircraft carrier. I think that term may have been birthed at Cloverleaf.
It might have been.
I think it was Cloverleaf that birthed the term aircraft carrier rather than flight. And Ole Rose may have had something to do with that.
Probably.
I may have been sitting across the table from him when that happened.
Yeah,
and it was
always good for that. Yeah.
And it was the pumpkin. It was all the pumpkin beer tap takeover.
Yep. On that note, on the note we were talking about, the only one I want to throw in there and add that I had new this year, because basically, as far as pumpkins go, it's the only one that I had that was new this year. Would be Founders released a beer called Headless Gourdsman.
Oh,
I looked for this.
Been looking for that.
Headless Gourdsman. Yeah, it's a higher ABV. I think it's like 13 or 14%. And it's an Imperial Pumpkin Ale aged in maple bourbon barrels. So it's
good.
Right up my alley. It's like perfect. And this one was insane. And I would have had one tonight, but as John said before, some work needs to happen tomorrow. So I wasn't going to have that tonight. But
isn't the caramel pumpkin is new this year, right? So that's
the caramel pumpkin is right. I had that. I had it tonight. Other than beers that I spoke of already tonight or had. Would be the Headless Gourdsman.
I was trying to do another reverse plating there, and it just
didn't work.
Cracked and burned.
But I love the caramel pumpkin. I mean, is it a new beer? Yes, it's a new beer, but it's pumpkin, right? We've had pumpkin.
It's before, an adjunct.
So it's a variant. It's a variant of a beer we've had before.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Headless Gourdsman was amazing. If you can find Founders Headless Gourdsman, get it.
Well,
if neither of you can find it, I will buy another 4-pack and I'll send you both 2 bottles each.
Cool.
I need to try that, and maybe there'll be a second pumpkin ale that I will talk about glowingly. We'll see, but it was very well done. I mean, it's Founders, right? I mean, But I need
Yeah.
to take take a trip out to my favorite liquor store, Booton,
You'll get it at Boone. They'll have it at Boone. Absolutely.
and because
I'm shocked that halftime didn't have it, John. Seriously.
Nope.
I really am shocked.
Nope. And I was looking
unless
for,
they had it, you just missed it. You know,
I
I mean,
I think Chuck and Doug were looking for it, and they couldn't find it either. So I think Doug originally posted a picture of it.
if Doug can't find it, then it's unfindable.
it's unfindable.
Yeah.
I consider myself lucky. I will be near the Wegmans in Ocean, New Jersey tomorrow. If there's any left, I'll buy a couple of 4-packs and we'll get some.
We'll distribute this out.
We'll make it
Alrighty.
happen. Cool. All right. Any closing remarks for tonight's this year's pumpkin show?
I'm good.
Next year's pumpkin show. You're good for a year, right? Next year's pumpkin show, I may or may not be having a brand new pumpkin ale from a different brewery that I've never had a pumpkin ale from before.
What's your hat say?
I'm not sure.
I want to say thank you for being flexible with the schedule. Thanks for having me
absolutely.
on.
Next week,
next time I'll be in Helen wearing lederhosen and drinking tons of German beer.
You know, I want pictures.
We need pictures.
I got pictures from last year. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting because you've got this uncanny resemblance to Mr. Whipple. So Mr. Whipple in lederhosen. Would be
I am going to run around Helen next week screaming, "Please don't squeeze the Charmin."
Don't squeeze the Charmin.
There we go.
You got it.
Love it. That's great.
So we need video of that.
Okay.
Yeah, that one we'll put that right up on the website and the Facebook and page and everywhere else. All right, that works for me. All right. Well, on that note, John, don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you obviously after we sign off. We want to wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lageroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, which is now X, and Twitch every Tuesday night around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Yeah. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on our brand new podcast host, Spreaker, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. Pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, you will find the Lager Room, guys.
We're lurking.
We are lurking everywhere. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. John, thank you so much for coming on again for the pumpkin show this year. Absolutely. We love it. We really appreciate it. Have a great week, rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a lot of beer, but drink responsibly. And we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.